I can't believe it. I had my microphone off. So we're gonna edit the live stream when it's said and done. Thank you for everybody chatting in the no audio and fixing that. So matter of fact, you didn't hear anything that I said to start this live stream. Hang on, I'm gonna chat in here. Audio coming. Good. So thank you for letting me know, and we should have live audio now. So I was going on this entire soapbox on how could you even consider jumping over to the Windows 11 live stream when you've got this live stream? I mean, Windows 11. I mean, it's like Windows 10. Just add one. So anyway, I didn't even know there was going to be a Windows 11, and let me now jump back to the topic of this. So the topic of this live stream, of which thousands more people will watch beyond the group I'm here with now. So hello around the world. The topic of this live stream is, should I go broad or should I specialize? 10 seconds on how that topic came about. I look at the chats after the live streams. I look at what people are asking. What are people saying? I look at the comments on YouTube. As a matter of fact, I've hired people from some of the comments they've typed in on YouTube. You know, people have content. I'm like, hey, and so chat in, comment in. I'm always looking at what people are looking for, and this is a common theme as people are either getting started in a career, or they're already in a career and they're kind of like, okay, what's next for me? The thought comes in of, should I go broad or should I specialize? So let me start off by saying, as with everything, it depends. It depends where you are in your career journey. Most people who ask that question are just getting started. They're going, okay, I'm trying to break into this world of technology. What should I do? Most of the time, and actually, let me step back before I just give you this straight answer. Find out what employers are needing. So we live kind of in this world where people are like, okay, build yourself, and it's about you, and it's not. That's the thing is, you're looking for a job at an organization where they need something. And one of the things I think that we should be teaching high schoolers, college folk, is not so much just dive into education, but it's look for what are the needs. What do people need? I mean, I'm learning calculus level 3 right now. Do people need that? I'm learning physics. Who needs that? Is that something that, I see so often people going after, and I'm talking about those things primarily in terms of college. It's like, hey, I'm going after these things because it sounds good. But I would say one of the skills, take a week and just show high schoolers, show folks going to college, how to go to a job board like, I don't know, Indeed.com and pull up 5 job listings. That doesn't even matter what field it's in. 5 job listings and look at the requirement and say, okay, does any of those have interest to you? Okay, you don't know what that even is asking? Well, here's how you Google it. Here's how you look in there. So that said, find out what people need first, then align your interests with that, which sounds backwards. Most people are saying, find your passion and then go out and charge the world. It's like, well, if your passion is making a cup of coffee. So glad I did this morning. There's not many people who need that. You could be a barista, but as we're talking about tech, you see where I'm going with that, right? So I'll just go dot, 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 dot. So that being said, the direct answer for if you are just getting started, most of the time, going broad is a better bet because it makes you more appealing, more adaptable to the various employers that are looking to hire you, right? Second thing is, broad. I had a thought that shot through my head as I was saying that. Go broad because it makes you more adaptable. Okay, second thing, know that your aptitude for technology could land you in a lot better jobs than just studying specific things. Here's what I mean. As you know, I run the managed service provider VIA. We're up to about 30 employees. Just hired two more. One, and I know a lot of you jumped in the live stream. We're hiring. So Arizona, we've hired one. We're looking for a second. So if you're in the Phoenix area, still looking for that. We hired the one in San Antonio, looking for one more in Dallas. And when I interview, I'm the final interviewer. It goes through our team, and if you make it far enough, I interview the person. And when I'm interviewing the person, the funny thing, and some people have even called me out on this, I rarely ask, what technical skills do you have? At least for the help desk role. I more so am asking, what are you doing at home? Like, give me an example of how you've used technology in the past. Give me an example of how you helped somebody with technology. Give me an example of how your TV is wired up at home. What I'm looking for is, do you have that little spark? Do you tinker? Do you build your own computer just because it sounds fun and because, oftentimes I find gamers, why? Because gamers will build their own computers. They'll install a new video card or something. Something will go wrong. A driver doesn't work, something, and they have to figure it out. And they start gaining an aptitude. And what I find is taking somebody with aptitude and filling in the technical skills so much easier than somebody who just went to school and said, I have a degree in this, or I have a cert in this, but they don't really have an aptitude. It's just they passed the exam, they got the degree, and it is very possible to pass an exam or get a degree without really having an aptitude for what you're working on. Meaning, you're not really interested in it. It doesn't really spark something in you. It's just something that you can do, right? See where I'm going with that. Once you land a job, so that whole intro was for people looking for a job. Crisp answer, it's usually best to go broad. Then once you land the job, you'll do one of three things. One, you'll start specializing in things common to the job. So let's just say you land a help desk role, right? As you get into that help desk role, you're going to be helping a lot with something. Windows 11, like we were just talking about, or network issues, or the knock, whatever it is that you're working on. You'll start to specialize naturally because you'll be in the job and they'll require you to do these skills. So you'll begin to specialize specifically around the job. That's extremely common. So you will get more specialized. And what I want you to watch out for right now is, as you specialize, make sure your eyes are open to other areas of the business. What I'll find is sometimes people will start to specialize into that role, and then they just kind of stay there, right? They're like, okay, I'm now help desk. And while as an employer, so let me talk an employer on a selfish side. And a selfish employer will be like, great, that person's happy in help desk. That I'm good with that because I need a robot. You know what I mean? Like as an employer, you're like, I don't want to deal with new people. I don't want to handle, a lot of the stuff that comes up when you bring, there's a whole HR things that goes alongside that. I want you to stay there and be a robot. That's the selfish side of an employer. But the human side of employer realizes that we as humans are created to grow. And if you stay in that role for too long, you'll begin to just kind of go through the motions. You're not growing anymore. You're not learning anything. And a good employer will know this and they'll call it out. So that person will just start kind of doing what they need to get by. Inside of themselves, something died. You know what I mean? They're kind of just like, I'm just showing up. I'm doing my X number of tickets a day. I'm putting in my X number of hours a day in this role. And it just, year after year after year of life goes by. So a good employer will recognize, okay, that person's dying. Let's get them something that kind of leads them into something else, right? A good employee will recognize in themselves, I'm dying. I'm not learning, I'm not growing anymore. And they'll start to reach for different things. And this is what I'm talking about. It's extremely common. So as I'm talking about broad or specialized, it's extremely common once you start a job, you'll be broad and you'll start to specialize. Losing my headset here, hang on. You'll start to specialize into what that role requires. A little more unique are the people that will come into that role, look around at other needs of the business. So let's just say you're at the help desk. That's the most common starting place for technical jobs. You're on the help desk. You're looking around. If your eyes are open, you will see needs. That you will see needs if you're open, right? And you'll be like, hey, I'm seeing, I'm seeing as I'm doing the help desk, our ticket system is just archaic. There's got to be something better, right? This is just a simple example. It hangs, it's slow. I'm seeing that, we lose network connectivity every so often. That's odd. I'm seeing that over in the break room, the wireless signal is really bad, right? And those people will not only say, I see the need, and instead of going, that's lame, roll their eyes, something like that. It's like, I'd love to be able to help fix that. How can we fix that? Let me talk to my manager. I'd love to help with that wireless. Is there somebody here that does that? If not, let me Google a little. Let me learn a little bit. Let me, you see where I'm going. That's a little more unique. And those people will begin to specialize into whatever those needs are. And oftentimes they'll create a whole role around. I'm gonna tell you a story in just a minute about 3 different people. They are real people. And I'm going to change their names because I want to protect their identities. They may even be watching this live stream. And you'll see that. So last type of person, as we're talking about broad or specialized, and these are extremely rare people, as people that will come into an organization, they'll fulfill the role, right? They'll start to specialize in that. Then they'll either see a need or see a whole new opportunity for the business, and dive into it and literally create something new that the business can use or that they can use. And it may even start as a hobby for themselves, and they just start going down the road and building that. So let me give you 3 stories. That gives you an example out of each one. First one is story of Mike. Mike is a guy who started in the military. He actually was in the military. Finished that service, got married, had some kids, jumped onto an organization, started at the help desk. No technical background, but with the military skill, oftentimes I find as I hire folks from the military, they have a sense of discipline, they have a sense of loyalty, they have a sense of drivenness that oftentimes you just don't get without some of that background. So he jumped into the help desk, he learned the skills needed. So we'll chalk that up to general aptitude. Why? Because he was a gamer. He kind of got how computers work. He began to helping people. Eventually, he started to move more into the server side of things. And I'm talking Windows servers, building servers, hosted servers, and it started simple. Hey, we have a need. All these servers need to be updated. Okay, I can do that. Yes, it requires evening work. It requires, 10 p.m. at night, sending outage notifications, all that kind of stuff. It's not a job. People are like, man, I really want to make sure servers are updated. He did. And he started driving down that road. He started learning more about servers, started specializing a little bit more in Exchange, email, things like that. And see how this general, broad into more specialized grew into the server side. Now, the funny thing is, he eventually started realizing, not really a fan of this. Mike, in this case, loved kind of like, I have my Sharpies right here. When the day is over, here, let me flip, when the day is over, one of the things, I don't know why I love doing this. I'll just set them, they're exactly the same distance apart. I'm like, oh, look at this, right there, every single one, and that's Mike. He's like, I love just making that. That's why he gravitated towards server updates. And so the need that he identified this, we finally just put a name to it. We said, hey, why don't you dive into network operations? The NOC. We have a NOC, and I'm talking about a guy who still works for us this day, and he runs our network operations center. He's like, everything will be crisp. I mean, literally every single morning, 6 a.m., perfect on the dot. We get an email, a Teams message. We use Microsoft Teams with a screenshot of the current dashboard. Here's any alarms. We see the description. Again, it's this. Oh, hang on. Nope. Right there. Everything is perfect every single time, and he's doing an amazing job at it. I sleep better at night. So back to the needs of an employer, it's like, hey, I just want to sleep good at night. I want to make sure that everything's running. That's Mike. Okay, so that's one journey that someone took. Let me talk about Sally. Sally came out of a rough situation, rough background, rough life, just looking for some place that she could land. Again, started on the help desk. And so interestingly enough, not really an aptitude for technology, hadn't done any of it in the past, but was driven enough because of the background that she had come from that she's like, I can figure this out. Just started taking phone calls, like, hi, thanks for calling. Can I direct you to the right place? And as she would hear the issue, like, why are you calling? She'd go, okay, I've heard something. I wonder how that's fixed. So she would transfer the call, and then she'd run over and watch how is the technician fixing this. So what I'm talking about here is, remember, and this is where I'm like, find out what employers need. Sometimes just somebody to sit there and answer the phone and direct the call to the right place is a full-time job, depending on the call volume coming in. Now, there's going to be other things associated with that. Hey, while you're waiting for the next call, update this spreadsheet, create this ticket. There's going to be all these kind of things. So Sally would sit there and watch, how are these things resolved? And within a couple months, she was able to take the call, and little known fact, she would actually solve it right there. They'd be like, hey, I'm running into this and this. And she's like, oh, I know that. And then bam, before long, she's moved from phone call answerer, I don't even know what that position's called, into I'm on the help desk. Now, what she started finding as she was on that help desk is that she had more of an interest in organizing things. 1,000 devices would come in needing to be imaged and sent to the customer. She was like, hey, let's make sure they're all in the right place. Let's make sure they all get the right asset tag. Like she would gravitate to that rather than the technology. And the next step that she took is, let me manage that project. Hey, we've got the device imaging project. Let me manage that. And before long, Sally is now a project manager, an IT project manager. Even though she would probably still describe herself like, I'm not really a technologist, she now knows how to talk the talk. She's conversationally competent to where she can talk to engineers and technicians, understand at least the premise, or at least enough to ask the right questions. Hang on, describe that. What do you mean by that, right? Ask the right questions so that she can hone in the project and continue it from there. That's the story of Sally. The last one, I'll use his real name because he's a fun one. I talk about him. I don't know why. His name is my name. His name is actually Jeremy Stretch. Jeremy is a guy who actually, why am I drawn to him? He took classes a long time ago, I'm talking decades ago, when I was teaching CCNA, probably like version 2 for CBT Nuggets. This has been a while. He asked me some questions. I don't even know how I ended up connected with him, but I saw him start a blog. His blog of learning CCNA, learning Cisco networking. And he would actually just post, hey, I'm learning OSPF right now. Here's how the area concept work. And he would do it well. I mean, crisp, great looking blog. Well, he ended up getting his CCNA. And I'm not sure of the entire career journey, but hired on at DigitalOcean, which is a place that kind of like AWS. They do hosted servers and things like that, right? I don't know exactly what he did when he got there, but on his own, it was kind of a hobby. He was like, man, I am seeing that we need a documentation system here. We need something. My little mic is giving me issues this morning. We need something to document the subnets, the IP addressing. And so he was like, there's nothing out there that I see that does what we need. I'm going to figure this out. And he literally started doing it as a hobby. He started learning Python programming. And that began what is now known today as the product called NetBox. This is that third type of employee. Should I go broad? Should I specialize? Some employees will jump in and see a whole massive need where literally nobody has any idea how to fix it, and they will build a solution. I'm not saying you have to become a developer, programmer, anything like that. What I am saying is that there are people out there who will literally build things. And the story of Jeremy Stretch is Netbox, this little hobby that he did on the side. It was an open source project. DigitalOcean gave him some time to do it during work hours as well, which he was like, this is great. Eventually became a whole product line, eventually was acquired. I think it was acquired by a company called Network to Code, and is now a fully funded, like this is all he does is program and make Netbox better. And I mean, once you're there, you're so specialized, you have such amazing knowledge and skills. It's like, name your ticket as you're moving on in the employment line. So all those stories, all three of those people are real stories. They're real people. Two of them still work for me. Jeremy Stretch, obviously, he's off at Network to Code building his dream project with Netbox, and knowing him, he'll probably finish that and jump into another project, see another need, build another totally new solution. So that's kind of a perspective on where the road of broad and specialize can take you. So that said, with the Windows 11 announcement coming, let me just take the next 5-10 minutes. We'll go till it's 7:56 a.m. my time, so we'll go till 8:05. Sound good? Let me just take the last few to look at some of the questions in the chat. So usually I had so much to say on that. So I'm going to start from the bottom up. David, Jeremy, what do you think of getting a job abroad does to you? What do you think getting a job abroad does to your curriculum in terms of experience and value? Not sure what you mean by curriculum, but what do you think getting a job abroad does in terms of your experience and value? One of the things I will say is getting a job abroad most likely means you're working remotely in today's post-COVID world. You really have to be driven, I think, to add value and things like that. Working remotely, one of the things I've found is it's way too easy to just get into a rut, unless you're that third type of person where you're like, I'm just going to build stuff. I can't just sit here. I've got to keep growing, and I need to help the company and grow. So rare. I would say maybe 20% of folks that work fully remote have that drive in them to keep growing. Oftentimes, folks that work remote will just kind of become the widget, you know what I mean? Like they're kind of there, they serve a role, and I'm not saying it's not possible. I mean, tons of people work remote nowadays, but they just kind of stay in the zone because working remote, sometimes it's harder to see the needs, hear what's going on, and really have the intrinsic motivation to dive into it and see it to the end. Man, that could be a whole other live stream topic. So, David, I think that's kind of what you're asking. So let me jump back up a little bit. Next questions. Jeremy, hello everyone. Greetings from Saudi Arabia, working as CUCM specialist. Voice over IP will be a thing for a long time. So great, good to see you. Joseph, I'm a 3-year network engineer with this expired CCNA routing and switching. Recently promoted to senior network engineer. If I were to look for another senior network engineer job, what would you recommend? Should I get a CCNP, being newly christened? I'm not sure. That's a good question. So I'm gonna generify, Joseph, your question. You start in a career, you got a cert. It's kind of like life is now taken over, right? You're doing well. You're promoted to now a senior network engineer. Should I go after a CCNP? I would say by default, no. By default, I wouldn't just say, hey, I'm going to go get a cert. I would find out from your employer, hey, I'm now a senior network engineer. What do you think I need? And suggest to them, I could go after a CCNP, and here's what that would do. I'd be able to do blah, 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 blah. And I mean, you could just create a real concise list of what the CCNP cert will do for you. Would you like me to go after that? The reason I'm saying keep that line of communication open, talk to them, is because oftentimes they may look and go, no, but we would really like you to get VMware certified. Matter of fact, we'll back you not only in study time during work hours, but we'll fund your test. We'll send you to a class. Again, partnering with your employer for that is I think, the right thing to do to begin with. Also keep in mind, Once you have that experience on your resume, senior network engineer, here's what that means, here's how many years. Whew, man, that's your entree to the world. When people open resumes, let me tell you the other side. If you're jumping to different careers, when you open a resume as an employer, you kind of look at the education, which everybody has at the top. Hey, here's my education. And you're like, yeah, show me what you've done, because there's a big difference between somebody who's just got education, never done anything, and somebody who's got an education or no, I would say no education. I've hired folks that have no formal education, but their experience, I'm like, done. He knows what he's doing. Bring him in. Let's get him an interview, right? So hopefully that helps you get some direction. Ebenezer, CCNA or programming, what's better to learn? It depends on you. Big thing. It depends on, for a lot of people, development is like make my eyes bleed. It's how your brain works. But I would say right now, diving into, again, such a generic question. I would say look at the need. What for? Like, CCNA, are you looking to build networks will always be a need. Always. And people are like, oh, networking's getting easier. Maybe, but even so, who are you going to get to do that? You're going to grab, the receptionist, the office manager, like who does that? The guy running the cabling who knows, oh, that's a router. No, you need a network engineer. So network engineers are not going away by any means. You'll always have a job as a network engineer. But development it's the world's landscape. It's like, hey, can you do anything? Is kind of like that's because development is it's very generic. So if I were starting all over again, it's impossible for me to put myself back in my 18-year-old body. But because I did development and I hated it when I was 18 years old. I needed something more tangible, and that's why I got into system engineering. So I can't just say that because there's so many variables with that question. Let's see. 802. Last couple questions. I'll just go with duct tape pilot. I currently manage CUCM for a university. I don't plan on staying here more than 2 years. Should I go for a CCNP Collab or CCNA to make it easier to find a job? I would say you're already doing CUCM. You've got a good idea of Collab. I'd go for the CCNA because the key that you said there is because I'm trying to find a job. By having a broader skill set than just VoIP and video conferencing and things like that, it gives you the ability to say, oh yeah, I can do that. And they'll see your experience. Like if you went after a CCNP collaboration, and in addition to your experience, it really narrows in the field of what you can do. See what I mean? Having the collab experience and adding a CCNA cert, people are like, oh, this guy, this gal, they can do, this broad spectrum of things that we have. Ram, where did you learn networking from your childhood? Where did I learn networking? My childhood was weird and messed up. So let me see. So honestly, the flyby of my journey, I started on the help desk. Matter of fact, when I gave the example of Sally, the person who's just taking calls, you want to know my 17-year-old job? I was the guy working at Apple computers before Apple was cool, taking calls, getting credit card numbers for people because they had to pay for tech support. So I had like everybody was angry at me. What? I have to pay for this? Are you kidding me? Hang up. And so while I was sitting there, I learned Apple computers and I moved into the Apple help desk role, right? From there, next, so a couple years of journey through the help desk, building computers on an assembly line, ended up getting sent to a class on Windows NT. There began the journey. And from there, I couldn't stop. I was just learn, and jumped into networking in 2000, primarily because by then I was training and I was like, I'm tired of system engineering. Give me something new. And that's where I jumped into networking and I'm like, oh, this is amazing. So that's the 60-second version. All right, last question. I'm just going to take Washington. It's not a question. It's a comment. He said, I should be studying for my CCNA exam, but I took a break to watch your live broadcast. So thank you for doing that. But the last thing I'll end up with is in broad, specialized, the whole theme of everything. The number one thing that I will say everything is vying for in today's world is your focus. If you give up your focus, and Washington, this isn't a critique, I'm just saying, in general, if you give up your focus on diving into something new, or you get into something and you get to a hard part and you're like, oh, let's turn over here, let's check social media, you're doomed. That is the death of most employees. That is the death of most people trying to start into a career, is you lose focus and you end up spread across everything, both productive, non-productive, hobbies, and it just becomes this big blur of life. And I say this as a call out because I know a lot of people are now working remotely, and one of the biggest challenges I've seen to working remotely is everything just starts becoming a big blob because it's so easy to just jump to other things, right? So maintain your focus. Must maintain focus. It's a discipline thing, right? So that being said, let's all jump over to the Windows 11 live stream to find out what's Microsoft doing, because I thought they were done with Windows 10 and it was just upgrading from there on out. Thanks, guys. Been great. Thank you so much for joining me. These things are literally just as much fun for me as it is for you. All right. Talk soon. See you next Thursday.